Imagine a world where the dragons soaring through our D&D campaigns aren't just, scaled behemoths hoarding treasure and breathing fire.
All right.
What if those iconic creatures are merely one facet of a much older, far stranger reality?
Hmm?
Could it be that the dragons we think we know are just whispers of truly alien and terrifying entities lurking in the forgotten corners of our fantasy worlds?
It's fascinating you start there because something quite unusual unfolded in my last game session, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my players were venturing into what they believed was the lair of a standard ancient green dragon. They were, prepared for poison clouds, cunning manipulation, the usual.
Right, the classic playbook.
Exactly. Instead, they encountered a dragon whose form seemed almost fluid. Its scales were rippling with what looked like ancient glyphs. It didn't speak in booming roars. It communicated through shared nightmares, weaving these illusions that preyed on their deepest fears and regrets. Their carefully planned assault just dissolved into utter disarray as they struggled to figure out what was real and what wasn't. It really forced them to confront the encounter on a completely unexpected level.
That's the kind of encounter that sticks with you, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's exactly the kind of imaginative territory we're venturing into today on the deep dive. We've sifted through a really compelling piece from LitRPG Reads titled "These 10 Homebrew Dragon Variants Will Leave Even Veteran D&D Players Speechless" by Amir Barakat.
Right. And our goal in this deep dive is, well, to unearth the most compelling and surprising concepts for dragon variants that Amir Barakat presents. We want to explore how these ideas can ignite your own creativity as dungeon masters and maybe shift your understanding of these legendary beasts.
Okay, so the article kicks off by addressing a potential issue, one that can definitely arise in long-running campaigns: the predictability of dragons.
Yeah.
Veteran players, they often get a really solid handle on the different dragon types, their elemental affinities, typical behaviors. And this familiarity, while it's built on experience, can sometimes diminish the sense of awe and the danger that should come with a dragon encounter.
The article makes a strong point there. Experienced players can sometimes anticipate a traditional dragon's tactics.
Yeah.
They might prep specific defenses or exploit well-known weaknesses just based on the dragon's color.
Totally.
And while that strategic thinking is, of course, part of the game, it can inadvertently reduce this powerful mythical creature to, well, just a set of expected challenges.
Yeah.
The mystery can kind of fade.
This is where the article's core idea really shines, I think. Barakat champions the concept of breaking free from those established norms by fundamentally reimagining what a dragon can be. It's about twisting their physical forms, their ancient origins, and crucially their very powers in ways that will truly surprise even the most seasoned adventurers. The article suggests this can reignite that primal sense of fear and respect dragons preserve and add significant narrative weight to our campaigns.
It was particularly compelling is just the sheer scope of the variations proposed. This isn't just about, reskinning a classic dragon. It's about exploring entirely new categories of draconic existence.
Yeah.
The article outlines 10 distinct categories, actually.
Yeah.
It offers a fantastic framework for DMs looking to move beyond the traditional spectrum of chromatic and metallic dragons.
Okay, so we're looking at categories like elemental-infused dragons. Think of dragons that are so saturated with raw elemental energy they basically become walking natural disasters.
Right.
Then there are dragons of thought and dream, which delve into the more esoteric realms of the mind and the subconscious. The article also explores undead and decaying dragons, moving beyond the standard Dracolich into more unsettling concepts of decay and entropy.
And the variety just keeps going. There are dragons tied to civilization, which explore surprising ways dragons might interact with or even shape humanoid societies. We also have time and space-bending dragons introducing truly mind-bending possibilities for manipulating reality.
Whoa.
Then, the article presents dragons of emotion and philosophy like beings embodying abstract concepts, as well as forgotten and mythic prototypes hinting at ancient draconic forms predating current lore. And finally, hybrid-infused dragons that combine draconic essence with other monstrous archetypes. It's a lot.
It really is. Let's dig into some of these categories with specific examples from the article, just to illustrate how far we can stray from the norm. So take those elemental-infused dragons you mentioned. The magma-blooded firestorm worm is mentioned, and the imagery is instantly striking.
Oh, yeah. What's fascinating about the magma-blooded firestorm worm isn't just its fiery breath. It's described as actually bleeding lava.
Bleeding lava.
Yeah. The battlefield itself becomes treacherous, with the potential for spontaneous volcanic eruptions. Imagine the tactical considerations for players trying to maneuver through a field of molten rock while facing this thing. It presents a far more dynamic and dangerous encounter than simply, dealing with fire damage.
That completely shifts the encounter, doesn't it? From just a direct confrontation to managing a hazardous environment as well.
Okay, then you have the Dragons of Thought and Dream. The Nightmare Dragon seems particularly intriguing in its approach. The Nightmare Dragon, as the article depicts it, attacks on a completely different plane. It can ensnare intruders in these intricate and terrifying dreamscapes, forcing them to confront their deepest fears. This isn't about physical wounds, it's psychological attrition. It could potentially leave lasting mental scars. A DM could weave really compelling narratives around characters haunted by the Nightmare Dragon's influence long after the initial encounter's over.
Moving into the realm of undead and decaying dragons, the Plague Realm offers a particularly unsettling take on undeath. It's not just a skell dragon, it exhales arcane rot, spreading a magical contagion.
Right, and the threat posed by a plague worm extends far beyond immediate combat. The article suggests its mere presence can blight entire regions, leaving this lingering legacy of disease and decay. This introduces potential long-term consequences for the players and the world they inhabit. Victory might come at the cost of dealing with a widespread plague afterwards.
Shifting gears entirely here, the concept of dragons tied to civilization offers some truly unexpected possibilities. The bureaucracy dragon is a prime example, a dragon intertwined with laws and regulations.
It sounds funny, but this variant highlights how dragons could exert power in more subtle yet equally oppressive ways. The bureaucracy dragon, as described, can literally bind individuals with arcane legal contracts and exploit bureaucratic loopholes. Imagine players having to navigate a labyrinthine legal system, maybe even arguing their case in some kind of draconic court. It forces a completely different kind of problem solving.
It introduces this fascinating blend of the mundane and the magical. And speaking of bending reality, the time and space bending dragons sound like they can introduce real chaos into a campaign. The Rewind Dragon, for instance. What's that about?
The Rewind Dragon possesses this incredibly disruptive ability to reverse time within a combat encounter, effectively resetting rounds.
Get out. Seriously.
Seriously, the strategic implications are immense. Players would need to be incredibly adaptable, knowing that their carefully laid plans could just be undone in an instant. It transforms combat into a temporal puzzle where, foresight and adaptability are paramount.
Wow, okay. Then we have the dragons of emotion and philosophy. The Sorrow Worm presents a unique challenge by attacking the very spirit of its foes.
Yeah, the Sorrow Worm doesn't inflict physical harm in the traditional sense. Instead, it drains joy and courage, weakening the adventurer's will to fight. This is a dragon that targets the emotional core, leaving characters despondent, ineffective. Overcoming such a creature would require players to confront their inner reserves of hope and find ways to combat despair itself.
Let's not overlook the sheer scale implied by the forgotten and mythic prototypes either. The World Mother Serpent evokes a sense of just, primordial power.
The sheer magnitude of these dragons is what makes them so compelling. The World Mother Serpent, according to the article, could be so fast that its movements cause geological upheaval, like earthquakes. This isn't a creature to be fought in a conventional sense. It's more like a force of nature that players might have to appease, or whose awakening they must prevent.
Finally, the hybrid-infused dragons tap into our existing knowledge of D&D monsters in terrifying new ways. The Beholder Dragon hybrid, the Eye Tyrant Worm, that's a truly nightmarish combination.
Oh yeah. This type of variant combines the raw power of a dragon with the unpredictable magical chaos of a beholder's eye rays. Imagine trying to dodge a dragon's breath weapon while simultaneously avoiding a barrage of disintegration and petrification beams. It presents this multifaceted threat that demands constant vigilance and adaptability.
So as we've explored, these variant dragons move far beyond simply having different elemental breaths. They can reshape the environment, attack the mind, manipulate societies, even bend the fabric of reality itself.
Exactly. The article really emphasizes how the unique origins of these dragons shape their abilities and their place in the world. A dragon born from solidified nightmares will undoubtedly have different powers and motivations than one that has, say, formed a symbiotic relationship with a sprawling city. This allows for much deeper and more integrated storytelling.
And these variants inherently challenge player expectations, right? Their past experiences with dragons might offer little guidance when facing a creature that manipulates time or feeds on despair. This necessitates creative problem solving and encourages players to think outside the confines of traditional combat tactics.
That unpredictability is absolutely key. When players can't rely on established dragon lore, they're forced to engage with the encounter on a more immediate, more inventive level. They have to observe, strategize based on what they're actually witnessing, and potentially discover entirely new ways to interact with and overcome these unique threats.
The article also offers some really valuable advice for dungeon masters looking to introduce these kinds of dragons into their games. Foreshadowing their arrival seems particularly important.
Absolutely. Suddenly confronting players with a completely bizarre dragon without any prior hints can feel jarring, maybe even unfair. The article suggests weaving in clues, rumors, unusual events leading up to the encounter. This builds anticipation and allows players to start piecing together the unique nature of the threat they're about to face.
And building up the stakes beyond just the immediate fight is crucial too. These encounters should feel significant within the broader narrative of the campaign.
Yeah, the article highlights the importance of demonstrating the dragon's influence on the world around it. This could manifest as, I don't know, strange weather patterns, societal unrest, or widespread psychological disturbances, all signaling the presence of an unusual and powerful draconic entity. This raises the tension and makes the eventual confrontation feel narratively significant.
Makes sense. And giving each variant dragon a distinct personality and set of goals can make them far more memorable than just a generic monster.
Definitely. A dragon shouldn't just be a stat block. Giving them individual motivations, quirks, even unique forms of communication can create opportunities for role-playing and make them feel like truly realized characters within the world.
Finally, considering diverse encounter environments beyond the typical lair can keep players on their toes.
Exactly. The article suggests that a variant dragon might be encountered in disguise, subtly manipulating events from behind the scenes, or maybe even as a natural phenomenon that the players must navigate or appease rather than directly confront. This keeps the encounters fresh and unexpected.
So the core message here is pretty clear. By venturing beyond the traditional archetypes and embracing these more imaginative dragon variants, we can craft truly unforgettable and impactful experiences for everyone at the D&D table.
It's really about tapping into the boundless potential of these mythical creatures and pushing the boundaries of what players expect.
A huge thank you to LitRPG Reads and Amir Barakat, also known as Paul Bello, a fine fellow indeed, and a truly imaginative mind for bringing these fantastic ideas to light.
Definitely head over to LitRPG Reads and check out the full article if this sparked your interest. There are even more incredible dragon variants to discover there.
And now we turn to you, our listener. What are your thoughts on these homebrew dragon variants? Have you ever incorporated or encountered a particularly memorable or unusual dragon in your own games?
Yeah, we'd love to hear about it.
Share your insights and experiences in the comments below. We're always eager to hear your creative ideas.